Hey everybody, you made it to the end. Congratulations. I'm so glad we've been able to share this time together, 7 weeks as we've trekked through Revelation chapter 2 and 3, looking at the personalized messages, the personal letters from Jesus to 7 distinct churches. Before we jump into this last one to the church in Laodicea, I want to give you just a couple of things to think about. One, because this is the last week, your group has a decision to make, and you have a variety of options before you. And really, it's about, is your group going to continue going? A lot of you tried this kind of as an experiment. It was just, hey, a 7-week commitment, and if you end, that's totally fine. No one's going to think less of you, but maybe you've developed really good relationships. Maybe you're enjoying this time, and maybe you find yourself thinking, I kind of want to keep going. This has been so good for me. And that would be a great option for you as well. We're starting to get into the holiday season, and so if your group is going to continue, you got to figure out, how are we going to do this with all the upcoming holiday stuff in a way that's good for everyone. And it's okay to take a little bit of a break, even if your group is planning on continuing, because this is a busy season. That's okay. If you want to know when we're getting back together again for kind of message-based small group studies with a companion study guide, that's going to start at the end of January in 2024. I can't believe we're already saying 2024, but here it is. And lastly, let me just say this. For those of you who are going to be around here locally for Thanksgiving, if there's anybody in your group that doesn't have a place to go for Thanksgiving, it would be great for you to open up a seat at your table to welcome somebody in. And maybe you're thinking about somebody who's not even in your group. Maybe everybody in your group has a great place to go. But this is a wonderful time to open up our homes and open up a seat at the table, especially for folks who don't have family to join during this holiday time. All right, so let's pivot and look at the church in Laodicea. In many ways, this is probably the church that we can relate to the most. And it's not because of their problems, it's because of other things. Maybe we can relate to their problems. I'll leave that up to you to figure out. That's not what I'm trying to imply. Laodicea was an area, and the people in the churches in Laodicea, they knew what it was like to be wealthy. They were financially comfortable. That's not a bad thing. This city had a medical school and was well known for some of their well-known physicians who had come up with some special salves and ointments, one for ears, some for the eyes. And that relates to some of the language that Jesus uses to this church, especially them not being able to see, and he's the one that's going to be able to heal them. He's speaking to them based on a major industry in their town. It would be the same as if Jesus was writing a letter to our church and he was saying, listen, I am the great physician, you are sick, and you should come to me for healing. He's relating to them in a way that they can quickly understand. And those are things I think are easy for us to relate to. Now, one of the things we said in the message was this: physical wealth makes it easy to forget spiritual poverty. Physical wealth makes it easy to forget spiritual poverty. That doesn't mean physical wealth is bad. Having money isn't a bad thing. I want you to make as much money as you can. I'm kind of in the school of thought as an old preacher named Jonathan Wesley who used to say, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I love it when people who are connected to the heart of Jesus, who are on a mission, have lots of resources so they can share those resources in a way to invest in the mission. I love it. I don't want our church to be poor. I want our church to be wealthy, not for ourselves, so that we can give it away to be a blessing to others, so we can invest in the kingdom. So having a lot of stuff, having wealth isn't a bad thing. We should never feel guilty. We should feel responsible. And if we're wise, we'll also recognize that with wealth comes vulnerability. And the vulnerability is to be self-reliant. And that was going on with this church. They were just kind of depending on themselves because, let's be honest, they had the money to solve problems that they faced, and it caused them to lose their sense of dependence and the urgency of really relying on Christ and how they depended on him for everything. Sometimes money can just blind us to that. Again, I'm not saying that that's going on here at our church, but if we're wise, it's something that we're going to think about, because we're all vulnerable to it, even if we're not necessarily guilty of it. Another thing I really want to draw to your attention, and this is something good to think about, is how are these letters constructed? It's fascinating to me, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we begin with a church that has lost its love, and we end with a letter to a church that has lost its purpose. And if you want to understand all the issues with the churches in between, it's a loss of love and a loss of purpose. And when you have your love and you have your purpose, you have everything you need to face everything in front of you. Love and purpose. And for me, it is a bit of a showstopper. It's really profound that Jesus' response to this church is, hey, I want you to repent and let's have dinner. It is highly, highly relational. And for those of us, like myself, raised predominantly here in our culture, I don't think we get just what a big deal it is to say, let's have dinner together. If ever you've traveled to another country, especially another country that emphasizes relationship, being slow and eating together, you see what a big deal this is. This past summer, I went to Croatia, and I was shown this in a way that I really didn't see coming. I was at a restaurant. I was kind of doing the American thing. We had finished our meal mostly, and I just asked the server, I said, we're ready for the bill. And he said to me, when you're finished. And he just walked away. And I thought, well, this is totally different. Every place we went over this time in this country, no meal was shorter than 3 hours. Most of them were 4 hours because they're so relational. And Jesus is saying to this church, listen, yeah, you've lost your purpose, you've become prideful, you're self-reliant, you're spiritually sick, you're naked, you don't even realize it. And his whole response is, listen, just turn back to me, open the door, let's be together. And that's it. That's the Christian life. That's what the answer is for you. That's what the answer is for us collectively, is to be with Jesus. And so, as your group talks, I've given you a few things to talk about. We could talk about our vulnerability to being really financially well off. We can talk about what it's like sometimes to forget our purpose and why that's so important. But maybe the biggest thing is, what does it mean to be with Jesus? What does it mean to be with Jesus individually? What does it mean to be with Jesus collectively? I hope you have a fantastic conversation.